morning, everybody.
Yeah. We're just going to get it up.
Before I come to the formal slides, a few remarks about this group. The G7 plus with a small g and the New Deal. Membership in this club is by choice. Currently, about 18 countries have signed up, clearly come out, and identified themselves as being fragile. If we run through that membership list, definitely one would come up with a situation where you would say, what about so and so? Why are they not featuring here despite what we know about them? But membership is strictly by choice, and South Sudan elected early on, in fact, to become a founding member of this club. They are by no means all homogeneous in terms of their fragility spectrum or characteristics, but there are clearly certain common identification themes that run across many of them. About 9 or 8 of these 18 members are located in Africa, but we also have situations like Haiti, Solomon Islands, Timor-Leste or East Timor, Afghanistan. They are all members. You become fragile in many ways, and the most devastating and obvious one is through conflict. And many of these countries like South Sudan are post-conflict countries. The conflict lays to waste the national foundations. If we're talking about human capital or capacity, infrastructure, state institutions, they either get totally wiped out or devastated or totally dislocated in such a way that the country is unable to stand on its own feet. The country finds itself in a situation where it must lay the foundations of the state. You could also become fragile through internal conflict, through internal, in the case of South Sudan, communal or intercommunal conflicts, which could be sparked off by cattle theft, cattle rustling, or some other minor things that take the proportion of completely devastating the social fabric between these communities. By talking about weak state institutions also includes the aspects of state absence, seriously speaking, in various regions of the country. State presence in the form of police, law enforcement agencies, and so on, get compromised or missing. You could also get yourself destabilized, fragile, through the actions of maybe unfriendly neighbors, hostile neighbors. This could also create a situation of fragility. This combined could lead to a situation of famine, in a situation of instability, like the case of South Sudan, which we will come to see in detail. Whole states or counties get continuously subjected to this internal instability such that they are unable to produce for themselves the basic necessities for life. Subsistence agriculture, which is the mainstay of the majority of the population, gets totally disrupted so that famine sets in and the cycle becomes vicious. That sets the situation of fragility. The This again throws out through the window movement towards the realization of the Millennium Development Goals. That's why early on, South Sudan, among others, in their coming together to come up to the New Deal, realized that come 2015, not a single aspect of the Millennium Development Goals will be realized. You need a middle way. You need to step back in order to identify aspects or those aspects that make it impossible to attack the MDGs head on. You need to maybe build the peace within your borders. You need to build the state itself through its institutions, so that it is able to respond even to minor things like natural disasters like earthquakes or famine or outbreak of serious diseases. You need to sort these things out. You need to make everybody feel equally protected by the law protection agencies. You need to make everybody feel part and parcel of the governance system. You need to make everybody feel that they are equally accessible to justice. You need to create these things. That, in essence, is what the New Deal is about. That is what this group of fragile nations, the G7 plus, are saying to their donors, that let us tackle these things, do it very fast, so that we get out from the state of fragility in order to face head on the pursuit of the Millennium Development Goals. I think let's move on now to the presentation. So we just want to very quickly see where South Sudan is coming from. I've already said most of it, aid to South Sudan, and then we get stuck through those kind of things and see how we can make aid effective. And then the lessons that will become available to all of us. Yeah, these are the effects of actions and activities that could create what we describe as a fragile situation. Insecurity, rampant insecurity, massive displacement of the population, destroyed or absent infrastructure, limited access to services in the form of water, health, or education, and then fragmented government institutions. In the process, coupled with the issue of capacity constraints and so on, then you have this issue of everything suddenly becoming a priority, so that you are unable to make up your mind what you should start to tackle first. You may have difficulty in identifying the core functions that, if they are fixed, you can still talk of having a state. Or in their absence, you cannot seriously talk about having a state. So the issue of the challenges relating to prioritization and then turning those priorities into action becomes an issue. Next. Here is a graph of the support South Sudan has been receiving over the years. Let's move on. We need to come to grips, both as members of this G7 plus and our supporters. The government struggles, as the picture can show, to improve transparency and accountability in order to make it easy for our donors to help us, build the human capital, create institutions and systems that can respond to the difficulties of fragility. Donors could as well have done much more by overcoming what I call short-term kind of interventions. We have on the right-hand side what we discovered in South Sudan to be partly unable, not success stories. On the left, what has worked. We had right from the time of our statehood, this intervention in the form of the Basic Services Fund, the Capacity Building Fund. We had also very strong linkage to the aid and of aid to our budgeting system. We had very strong government aid policy. This one's helped very much. On the negative side, we have these large funds like the Multi-Donor Trust Fund that didn't work entirely to the satisfaction of everybody. And then this issue of linking humanitarian aid to development aid also didn't work very well. At the start of the administration in South Sudan, putting the systems together was done through a paper, a document that was jointly put together by the then Sudan and the donors. We called it the Joint Assessment Mission. It didn't separate clearly where the government comes in and where the donors come in, and in practice it became very difficult to implement. We believe that aid could be made effective if by establishing a plan, which we have done, the South Sudan Development Plan, the aid strategy with the clear benchmarks, including steps towards using government systems, making use of the New Deal, which we'll see a lot about later on, particularly the aspects of focus and trust, key aspects of the New Deal, and committing to improved transparency. With this, then the government could come to any understanding with the donors in the form of a compact. We are working on this. Next. The New Deal, South Sudan believes, is a very, very important tool for getting out of the state of fragility. In itself, it's based upon the 5 peace building and state building goals. It is implemented through the focus. This is a new country-owned, country-led way of engaging, as we heard several times yesterday. And the trust aspect, a set of commitments to achieve better results. Implementing it in South Sudan. We have so far sought to align ourselves with these principles. This has been achieved by demonstrating clearly that our aid policy is aligned to the New Deal, establishing a national plan, and working to improve transparency. In Busan, South Sudan elected to be a piloting country on the implementation of the New Deal. Since then, in August, we did the fragility spectrum assessment. Only last week, we did the validation of that kind of thing as a movement towards implementing the key aspects of the deal. In terms of lessons for ourselves as well as for others, for donors, we believe that actively considering a move towards government systems over time, of course, through a dialogue with the government would be a very useful thing to do indeed. We're suggesting that our donors be very clear that the support they will render to us is predictable and long-term. Focusing support to key areas rather than scattering it in small bits all over our sectors at the end of the day may not lend itself to proper evaluation, but doing so in key, small, clearly identified strategic projects could do wonders. We also want our donors to clearly support us as we deal with the issue of the New Deal. Come up clearly to align your support to our budgeting system and the planning process. In terms of the other fragile states, we want to take the lead, embrace the New Deal, embrace and communicate clear aid policy that lays out. Can you move it up a bit? Yeah.
For people below, you can see it.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's clear. That's okay. That is, in brief, the New Deal. Aspects that lead to these states coming together in ability, come 2015, to meet any of the Millennium Development Goals, recognizing that fact, requesting the donors to very quickly align behind the deal in the form of compacts, so that membership in the club becomes short-lived as a transitional aspect, so that we begin to focus on the issue of tackling the Millennium Development Goals, creating the required infrastructure, human capital, and the delivery of services to the population. These are my few remarks. The rest, I think, I've said enough to provoke reactions. We'll tackle them through the questions that will be forthcoming.
Thank you very much.